History is full of great battles and the courage, leadership, and madness of great commanders. Today's wars are fought with more destructive weapons and in a faster pace due to technology. In the past, on the other hand, they took place after days and months of campaign preparations and thousands of opponents calling for death with swords. The Ottoman Empire, one of the empires that shaped history, was at its strongest in the Middle Ages. Ottoman campaigns, which had a profound impact on European history, were also the harbingers of great wars. And so it was. The Battle of Mohács, which lasted 2 hours, ended with the disintegration of a huge army. Now, if you are ready, let's analyze this legendary battle together. If you are interested in war, weapons, and military technology, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us in the comments. Here we go. The Battle of Mohács is the battle that took place on August 29, 1526 between the armies of the Ottoman Empire and the Kingdom of Hungary, which resulted in the Ottoman conquest of most of Hungary. The details and developments it involves bring the Battle of Mohács to a special place. The battle resulted in a heavy Hungarian defeat after the Hungarian army lost its main force, the heavy cavalry, in a short period of time, thanks to the light cavalry units of the numerically superior Ottoman army and the use of 300 mobile cannons and effective rifles, which had not been encountered by Europeans until then. The Ottoman army defeated the Hungarian army. The battle started at noon and several reliable sources about the end of the battle say that the Hungarian king Lajos II left the field at dusk and fled under the cover of darkness. According to estimates, the battle lasted between 2 to 3 hours. The statements of Vezir Ibrahim Pasha, who met with German ambassadors in 1533, about the reasons for the expedition give a clue as to what political considerations the Ottomans emphasized for the Hungarian expedition. Accordingly, when the Sultan ascended the throne, he sent an envoy to the Hungarian king Lajos II in order to establish good relations with the Hungarians and to confirm the existing treaties by receiving a congratulation from the other side. However, when the Hungarian king imprisoned this envoy and the envoy sent after him, this was considered a sign of hostility by the Sultan. Later, when the mother of the King of France asked for help from the Sultan, who was very saddened by the captivity of the king, planned an expedition against the Hungarian king, who was married to the Emperor Karl V. In order to respond to this and to strike a blow to Emperor Karl V, he planned to both put Karl V in a difficult situation and to take revenge on Lajos II, who had been hostile to his calls for peace. When the decision for the campaign was taken, the Habsburg Empire was dealing with internal problems arising from the German princes, social and religious movements, and the opposition of England and the Italian city-states, in addition to the war with France. King Lajos II of Hungary, who had not renewed the treaty with the Ottomans in line with the Pope's directives, imprisoned ambassadors, and did not send a delegation to congratulate the new Sultan on his accession, could not find strong allies against the Ottoman threat. Some of the Hungarian nobility were dissatisfied with the rule of Lajos II. Even at the War Council, their demands centered on the removal of Germans from the king's side and a more equitable use of state revenues. They did not even agree on the destination of the Ottomans' new campaign. There was complete uncertainty on this issue. While these developments were taking place in Europe, the Ottoman Sultan Suleiman I, whom Europeans called Suleiman the Magnificent, was finalizing the necessary preparations for the Hungarian campaign. Having completed the necessary preparations, Suleiman the Magnificent departed from Istanbul on April 23, 1526, accompanied by Ibrahim Pasha, the vizier, and at the same time the governor of Rumelia. Lajos II arrived in Tolna on July 24 and waited for the troops to gather there. With 20,000 men, half of them peasants and the other half cavalry from Esztergom, Istolny, Belgrade and other Hungarian regions and Polish, Bohemian and German soldiers, he moved to the field of Mohács on August 15, where the Ottoman army was to meet him, and 4 days later he set up his camp and deployed his troops. Meanwhile, the number of troops was gradually increasing with the reinforcements arriving, reaching around 40 to 50,000 during the battle. On August 19 and 20, at the War Council, the commanders discussed whether or not the Ottoman army should be welcomed at Mohács, as well as waiting for the troops of Zapolyai and Frangipan, who had not yet joined the army, starting the battle immediately before their arrival. and asking the Sultan for peace and agreeing to pay tribute. Most Hungarian noblemen believed that the Ottoman army could be dispersed by a cavalry charge. Taking advantage of the fact that the Ottoman army, which was larger than theirs, was struggling with the terrain and advancing in parts, it was possible to reach the Sultan's position directly with a sudden attack and thus win the victory. The Hungarian camp was located in the most favorable part of the plain. The route the Ottoman army would take to reach the plain had become swampy due to the constant rains, and the heavy Ottoman army had to break its marching order and move slowly. Nevertheless, the Hungarians delayed in marching on the Ottoman army, which was struggling, and the ties between its continents were broken. When the two armies came to the battlefield, the Ottoman cavalry was carefully following the movements of the Hungarians. Just then, there was a movement in the Hungarian regiments, and it was understood that a sudden Hungarian attack had begun. In the face of the sudden attack, the Ottoman military delegation implemented the previously agreed plan. During the negotiations, Bali Bey, the Bey of Semendyar, Yahya Pasayaglu, recommended that the Rumeli soldiers in front should be divided to the sides to give them a passage against the fierce attacks of the Hungarian heavily armored cavalry, and then attack from the side. On the other hand, the attacking Hungarians, when the Rumeli troops split in two, would suddenly run into the wall of cannon carts, chained cannons and riflemen Janissary troops behind them. Raiders were also ambushed to surround the Hungarian forces from behind. The Hungarian forces were met by artillery and riflemen. Although the cannons were not very effective, the Janissary riflemen, who stood in their places in a disciplined manner and waited for the right moment to fire, dispersed the Hungarian cavalry with gradual and rapid fire in several groups. According to Ottoman sources, the Hungarian forces were divided into three. The Sultan's tent and camp were set up far away from the scene of the battle. The vanguard soldiers fought first, then the forces on the right arm of the Hungarian army were sent against the raiders. Those on the left were left in place. The king attacked Ibrahim Pasha, passed through the Rumeli soldiers who were divided into two and turned left when he encountered musket fire. It is stated that the Hungarian forces in the left column marched against the Anatolian Sipahis, but were trapped in their ranks. The Janissaries arrived and dispersed the Hungarians, and those who turned towards the Sultan were completely destroyed. As a result of the Battle of Mohács, which lasted about 2 hours, the Hungarian commander Tomori lost his life near Borza Creek. King Leos II drowned in the Seal stream at dusk while fleeing. 2 commanders-in-chief, 6 abbots and 300 Hungarian dignitaries remained on the battlefield. According to the records kept during the campaign, the Hungarian dead were buried and not left in the field, while the bodies of 20,000 infantry and 4,000 cavalry were counted. The number of captives reached 10,000. The Ottoman losses are recorded as 50 to 60 people. After the end of the battle, the Sultan stayed on the plain of Mohács for a day and then moved towards Budin and entered the city without encountering any resistance. 2 weeks later, the Ottoman army evacuated the city and returned. As a result of the battle, the Kingdom of Hungary began to disintegrate. The Ottoman Empire, on the other hand, continued its campaigns towards Europe.